The Tullys of Riverrun were never kings, though their books of lineage will show any number of connections to dynasties of the past. It may have also been these old connections that started House Tully on the path of becoming Lords Paramount of the Trident under Aegon the Conqueror, but this may also be more to do with their willingness to cooperate with House Targaryen. Tully names appear in many chronicles and annals of the Trident, back into the days of the First Men, with the first Edmure Tully and his son, who fought beside the Hammer of Justice, Christopher Mud IV, in many of his 99 victories. After Christopher's death, Sir Edmund went over to the mightiest of the Andal conquerors, Armistead Vance. It was from him that Edmure's sons, Axel, received a grant of lands at the juncture of the Red Fork and his swift-running vassal, the Tumblestone. The Lord Axel established his seat, a castle he named Riverrun. Placed as it was, Riverrun soon proved to have great strategic value, and the petty kings during the Age of Anarchy soon began to vie for the support of House Tully. Axel and his descendants grew wealthy and powerful, and in time became the envy of many river kings, as they defended the Trident's western marches against the Kingdom of the Rock. The Tullys were accounted among the foremost lords of the Riverlands by the time that the Storm Kings won their final wars against the last kings of rivers and hills. Some noble houses were destroyed in those wars, but many bent the knee to the Storm King, and the Tullys were among them. Soon House Tully began to appear in prominent offices and trusted positions. Riverrun weathered the reigns of the Storm Kings and survived the subsequent Ironborn conquest largely intact. Other powerful houses of the Riverlands were not so fortunate. A decade before Aegon's conquest, Blackwoods and Brackens entered into a private war in the ancient feud. Previously, the Ironborn overlords had largely ignored such conflict amongst their vassals. If the Ironborn chronicles can be believed, Harwin Halfhand often seemed to pit his bannermen against one another in order to keep them weak, but this time the feuding disrupted the construction of Harrenhal, and that was enough reason for Harren the Black to deal with them harshly. So it was that, when Aegon the Conqueror marched upon Harrenhal, the Tullys of Riverrun were the most powerful of the Riverlords still remaining. 40 years of Harren the Black's rule, which had brought death to thousands, had won him no love to the Riverlands. Consequently, Aegon's arrival was heralded by lords great and small, with many flocking to his banner, keen to overthrow their cruel foreign king. And chief amongst them was Edmund Tully. When Harrenhal burned and Harren the Black's line was ended, Aegon gave the rule of the Riverlands to Lord Edmund. Some even proposed that Lord Tully be granted dominion over the Iron Islands as well, though this did not come to pass. Lord Edmund did much to repair the damages that Harren had left behind him. New ties were forged. It was in 7 AC as well that Lord Edmund began his 2 years as Hand of the King, ending when he resigned the office and returned to the Riverlands and his family. In the years to come, men of House Tully would play a role in many of the chief events of the early Targaryen kings. When King Aenys I guested at Riverrun and Harren the Red slew Gargan the guest, it was to the Tullys and the Bannermen that Aenys turned to try to wrestle Harrenhal away from the outlaw king. In later years, the Tullys, together with the Harroways, who at the time ruled Harrenhal, fielded part of the army that surrounded and defeated Prince Aegon the Uncrowned and his dragon Quicksilver in his war against his uncle Maegor the Cruel. Members of House Tully tend to have fair skin, red-brown hair, and blue eyes in a variety of shades. They follow unique customs even among the Riverlords. House Tully follows the Faith of the Seven. Although Riverrun still has a Godswood, Tully funeral customs decree that a deceased member is placed on a small boat. Men may be clad in their armour or a surcoat with a wooden sword and shield. They are placed on their cloaks among stones to make the boat heavy in the water, and driftwood kindling and scraps of parchment to allow the fire to catch. In honour of the faith, 7 men are chosen to push the funeral boat to the water. Using a flaming arrow, the boat is lit afire. The banner of House Tully is a leaping silver trout on a field of blue and mud red. The words are family, duty, honour. Given the Riverlands' geographical vulnerability, House Tully often sought alliances in case of invasion. In more recent history, Lord Hoster Tully sought to wed his brother Sir Brendan Tully, hero of the War of the Ninepenny Kings, to Bethany Redwine. Brendan would have none of it. During the years-long quarrel between the two, Brendan took the moniker Blackfish and a unique banner. Hoster also took a ward, Peter Baelish, an obscure lordling from the Fingers. Peter fell in love with Lord Tully's eldest daughter Catelyn, but was rebuffed. As consolation, he took the maidenhead of Lysa, Hoster's other daughter. Hoster forbade Peter from marrying either of his daughters due to his low standing, and ordered Lysa to drink Moon tea to prevent her from bearing Peter's child. Hoster later accepted an offer from Lord Tywin Lannister to wed Sir Jaime Lannister to Lysa, but Jaime unexpectedly joined the Kingsguard before this could occur. Hoster rebuffed Tywin's offer of his young dwarf son Tyrion as a replacement. Other prospects existed from House Brax and others, but Hoster finally accepted an offer from Lord Rickard Stark that Catelyn be betrothed to Brandon Stark, heir to Winterfell. Peter Baelish duelled Brandon for Catelyn's favour, resulting in his exile from the Riverlands. The later execution of Brandon and Rickard Stark by King Aerys II complicated matters, but Lord Hoster, through with the ensuing rebellion of Lord Robert Baratheon against the Targaryen rule, arranging for Catelyn to marry Brandon's brother, Lord Eddard Stark, and Lysa to marry Lord Jon Arryn. The Riverlands was a major theatre in Robert's rebellion, just like many wars before it, and Lord Hoster fought in the Battle of the Bells. His control over his bannermen was not complete, however, and Darrys, Mootons, and Rygars supported the Targaryens. House Frey delayed their contributions till after the decisive Battle of the Trident itself. After the war, the Tully girls rode off to their husbands' seats, with Sir Brendan accompanying Lysa to the Vale of Arryn to serve as Knight of the Gate. This brings us to the start of the main book series, which is beyond the scope of this video. House Tully and the Riverlands play a huge role in the plot, with the likes of Catelyn, Tully, and the Stark children, and the death of Lysa Arryn's husband triggering all the events that follows. The Riverlands themselves play centre stage during the War of Five Kings, and we get a unique look at them through the eyes of Arya Stark. Right now in the books, as left in A Dance with Dragons, House Tully is at its lowest point since the days of Harren the Black, and the Riverlands themselves have been ravaged and torn apart during the War of Five Kings, with the Red Wedding dividing the loyalties of the houses of the land apart. But House Tully have been a big part of Westeros since the conquest, and if history shows, I think it will remain a strong part of it in the future.